What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. One of Putin's most recent addresses to the nation was not just another rambling monologue from an aging autocrat who has been repeating himself for years. No, it was a line-crossing moment. The kind that makes even the people standing closest to him quietly look down at the floor and pretend they did not hear what was just said. Vladimir Putin did not merely brush aside the latest peace speculation. He did not simply dodge responsibility or shuffle words around like he usually does. He openly chose the one option that almost nobody inside the Kremlin actually wanted anymore. He chose permanence. He chose escalation by inertia. He chose a war with no end date, no borders, no conclusion, and no exit ramp. And here is the part that matters the most. This war is already approaching its 4th year, longer than the Great Patriotic War Putin loves to invoke every single time he needs historical references. Longer than the conflict he claims defines Russian heroism, sacrifice, and national unity. Inside the system, people have adjusted to a simmering controlled disaster. Businesses have adapted, oligarchs have lost fortunes and learned to live without them. Bureaucrats have built routines around sanctions and mobilization quotas. Even the generals learn how to fight a war that never quite ends, but, well, never quite explodes either. Just continues. So nobody wanted Putin to touch that fragile balance, but he did. And in doing so, he made it clear that this is not about Russia, Ukraine, NATO, or even territory anymore. This is all about one single man who cannot exist without the war. When talks with Trump sparked genuine hope, not just abroad but inside Russia itself as well, when peace plans piled up and expectations rose, Putin alone rejected every single one of them. Not Russia, not the Kremlin, but Putin. He screams the loudest about wanting peace while being the only single person who constantly refuses it. The world is tired, Russians are tired, even his closest allies are tired. But the war will not stop as long as he holds power. And as of recently, he made that unmistakably clear. Putin's speech landed like a shocker precisely because it confirmed what many in Moscow feared, but did not want to say out loud. He is not interested in managing the war anymore. He is interested in owning it completely. His words were not connected to an endgame, framework, or even a vague promise of resolution. No. Instead, he laid out a surreal demand. Recognize territories Russia has not even captured yet as Russian. Treat any attack on them as attack on Russia itself. And do it without Ukraine's involvement at all. That's not diplomacy, that's fantasy roleplay with nuclear kings. Inside the Kremlin, this is deeply inconvenient. Endless war sounds dramatic on television, but in reality it's poison. Sanctions do not just hurt the abstract economy, no, they hit balance sheets, logistics chains, investment pipelines, and personal wealth of oligarchs. This same oligarchs class has been bleeding money for years now. The technocrats have been patching holes with duct tape and creative accounting. The security services have been juggling domestic control with foreign disasters. Every single person has been sacrificing something to keep the system stable enough to survive. And stability was the unspoken agreement. Keep the war ugly but contained, loud but predictable, brutal but routine. While Putin shattered that understanding with a single speech. By openly declaring that recognition comes first and peace may be later, he told everyone around him that their losses are irrelevant. Their patience does not matter. Their quiet hope that this would end eventually, wind down means absolutely nothing. This was not a collective decision. This was a personal one. Just like the decision to invade in the first place. The war has become too central to Putin's identity to let go. Ending it would mean stepping back into a world where he is just another authoritarian leader managing decline. And that is completely unacceptable to him. But unfortunately I have to mention, guys, that the situation in Ukraine is far from ideal as well. I hear it personally from my Ukrainian uncle, from my Ukrainian cousin, and I just, like most of you guys, come across the same news and videos online. Take this one of the most recent stories, for example. Ukraine's new defense minister Mikhailo Fedorov just took office, and across the world's media you will see totally different angles on what that means. Some outlets zoom in on army modernization and tech innovations, others highlight 200,000 soldiers AWOL and millions dodging the draft. I mean, you can clearly see the difference, right? One headline makes it sound like a tech pivot, another makes it feel like a crisis and that's it, Ukraine is collapsing, everything is horrible. That is the problem. Sensationalism, bias, and algorithm deciding what you see, not what you need to understand. That is precisely where ground news comes in. It allows you to compare coverage from around the globe all in one place, so you actually see how different outlets frame the same story. It gives you bias ratings that show you which sources lean left, center, or right, so you can spot spin before it shapes your view. And with features like blind spot, you can even find stories that that one side of the spectrum is ignoring completely, entirely. No guesswork, no algorithm pushing the loudest voice, nothing. Just context that you can trust, so your next conversation is based on understanding, not confusion. I personally use Ground News whenever I prepare my videos, and I partnered with them to give you guys 40% off the access to the Vantage plan. Just scan this QR code or go to ground.news/RussianDude and subscribe now. Be informed, not influenced. Thank you so much Ground News for sponsoring this video. Now back to the program. For months, the peace process has looked like a badly written stage play where none of the actors believe in the script. Proposals were floated, deadlines were announced, Trump's circle talked about grants, some kind of breakthroughs and historical deals. Media cycles exploded with speculation. Even inside Russia, people allowed themselves cautious but optimism nevertheless. Maybe not peace, but, well, at least less killing, less intensity. Maybe fewer drones, fewer funerals. Well, Putin played along just enough to keep the illusion alive. He never called the proposal a peace plan. That was deliberate. He reduced it to just points, ideas, potential foundations, legal nothingness basically. While Trump's team treated the document like something tangible, Putin treated it like background noise. And when the moment came to commit, he, as we all know, publicly declined it. Calmly, casually, almost bored, like it was just some kind of a routine for him. It almost didn't even make it to the news because that's exactly what everyone expected to happen anyways. This is not confusion, it was humiliation by design. By letting American officials invest political capital to a plan he never intended to accept. And so just like this, Putin demonstrated something far more valuable than battlefield gains. He demonstrated control over the tempo. He kept Washington busy, distracted, arguing internally, while sanctions were delayed, pressure eased, and expectations floated harmlessly in the air. Inside the Kremlin, this tactic is well understood as well. Buy time, stall consequences, let the other side argue with itself. But what made Putin's most recent speech different is that he stopped pretending that the stall would ever end. He openly declared that recognition comes before peace, and peace might never come at all. That is when the play collapsed, and everyone watching realized they had been sitting through rehearsals for a show that was never even meant to premiere. But why exactly Putin wants the war that never ends? Wouldn't he want to enjoy the consequences of a potential victory while he's still alive to witness it all? Let's try to answer all these questions in our next chapter. Strip away the geopolitics and the reason becomes embarrassingly simple. War is the only stage left where Putin still matters. In peacetime he fades, just another aging strongman presiding over stagnation, corruption, and demographic collapse. No headlines, no urgency, no one waiting breathlessly for his next sentence. It is war, basically, what keeps him relevant. Every address becomes an event. Every pose sparks speculation. Every word is dissected across continents. Without war, Putin loses the spotlight, and he knows it. The end of hostilities would not just end fighting. It would end his centrality to the global conversation. Dictators talk all the time, and only wartime dictators command attention. And boy, do they love attention. That's precisely why every peace proposal is doomed. Not because it is unfair to Russia, not because it ignores security concerns, no, but because it threatens Putin's position as the center of gravity. Even his inner circle understands this now. They have adapted to loss, not to conclusion. When Putin compares this war to the Great Patriotic War, he unintentionally reveals the truth. That conflict ended with victory, demobilization, and rebuilding, but this one cannot. An ending would require accountability, reassessment, and retreat, all things Putin cannot simply allow. So instead, he reframes duration as virtue. The longer it drags on, the more historic it becomes, the more necessary he appears. This is why he crossed the line with his speech. He did not just reject peace, he rejected the idea that peace is even desirable. The consequences at this point go far beyond Ukraine. Europe is watching this with genuine fear, not rhetorical outrage. Russian leader who openly enjoys endless war paired with distracted, dysfunctional US administration is a nightmare scenario and combination. Not because of ideology, but because of timing. If missiles fly at NATO borders while Washington debates who is authorized to respond, damage will happen fast. Putin understands that delays kills deterrence. His entire strategy now revolves around exploiting confusion, buying weeks, and daring the West to realize what is happening before it's too late. This is not just about sanctions anymore. It's about testing whether the global system can react coherently at all. And so far, the answer, well, unfortunately, has not been very reassuring. Every fake negotiation buys Putin time. Every photo op delays pressure, every misread signal invites escalation. Even inside Russia, exhaustion is settling in. Not rage, not rebellion, but fatigue. The quiet, dangerous kind. People don't want glory, they want normalcy. They want the killing to stop. They want their sons home. And yet, the one man who could end it all refuses to. Putin's war is not popular, it is just tolerated at best. And tolerance is running out. But tolerance does not end wars. Decisions do. And with his most recent speech, Putin made one that locks this conflict in place for as long as he remains in power. There is no clever reinterpretation of that speech, no hidden olive branch, no misunderstood nuance. It was, simple as that, an announcement of permanence, a declaration that peace will confirm Putin's relevance, while the war sustains his authority. He does not need victory, he needs continuation. Everyone else is expendable. Ukrainian lives, Russian lives, European stability, global security, all of it is just secondary to maintaining his role as the man that the world cannot ignore. That is precisely why every peace proposal fails at the same point, not in the negotiations, not in the implementation, but in simply one single step that happens all the time, which is Putin's refusal to let the war end. The tragedy is not just that the fighting continues, it's that it continues not because it must, but because one person needs it to. And until that changes, no plan, no envoy, no deadline will ever matter. The war will grind on, not for territory, not for security, but for relevance. And that may be the most dangerous reason of them all. Thanks so much Ground News once again for sponsoring this video. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to my channel. Please go ahead and check all the useful links down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you on Tuesday.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell, their twisted words and feeble claims on us all.